Millions and millions of years ago, huge reptiles called dinosaurs ruled the earth. Dinosaurs were amazing reptiles that lived on land, the oceans, and the skies. Some were huge, some were tiny, some ate plants, and some ate meat. Let's get on this time machine together and travel back to the Mesozoic Era and meet these roaring giants. Meet Tyrannosaurus Rex, the king of tyrants. Tyrannosaurus Rex, the T-Rex. This mighty dinosaur was one of the biggest meat eaters ever. It grew up to 40 feet long. That's longer than a school bus. With powerful legs, tiny arms, and a huge head full of sharp, banana-sized teeth. T-Rex lived in what is now North America during the late Cretaceous period, about 68 million years ago, in forests and plains. It was a super predator with the strongest bite of any land animal strong enough to crush bones. Fun fact, T-Rex had great senses of smell and sight, and its brain was pretty big for a dinosaur. It was like the king of the dinosaurs. Here comes Triceratops, charging like a rhino with armor. This plant eater had 3 big horns on its face and a huge bony frill around its neck to protect it. It was about 30 feet long and weighed as much as 2 elephants. Triceratops lived in North America during the late Cretaceous in open woodlands. It ate tough plants like ferns and low bushes, chewing with its strong beak and teeth. Those horns and frill probably helped it fight off predators like T-Rex, or look impressive to other Triceratops. Hey, look at those Velociraptors running around. Don't worry, the real ones were smaller, about the size of a large dog, with feathers covering their bodies like birds. They had sharp claws on their feet and were super fast and smart. Velociraptor lived in Asia during the late Cretaceous, in sandy deserts. It was a carnivore that hunted in packs, using teamwork and quick moves to catch lizards or small dinos. Look up, way up. That's Brachiosaurus, one of the tallest dinosaurs ever. Its long neck reached high into the trees, like a giraffe on super stilts, up to 85 feet long total, with front legs longer than the back ones. This gentle giant lived in North America and Africa during the late Jurassic period in lush floodplains. It was a plant eater that munched on treetops all day long. Its heart had to be huge to pump blood all the way up that long neck. Brachiosaurus was peaceful and enormous, the skyscraper of the dinosaur world. Check out those awesome plates. This is Stegosaurus, with big bony plates along its back and sharp spikes on its tail, called a thagomizer. It was about 30 feet long, like a big armored truck. Stegosaurus lived in North America during the late Jurassic in fern-filled valleys. As a plant eater, it nibbled low plants and used its tail spikes to defend itself from attackers. Fun fact, those plates might have changed color or gotten warm in the sun, maybe to show off or scare enemies. It was about 30 feet long, like a big armored truck. Stegosaurus lived in North America during the late Jurassic in fern-filled valleys. As a plant eater, it nibbled low plants and used its tail spikes to defend itself from attackers. Here comes Ankylosaurus, built like a living tank. It had thick bony armor all over its body and a huge club on the end of its tail for smashing. About 30 feet long, nothing could bite through that. Ankylosaurus lived in North America during the late Cretaceous, in wooded areas. It ate plants like ferns and low bushes, swinging its tail club if danger came near. Fun fact, even T-Rex probably thought twice before attacking this tough guy. Ankylosaurus was the ultimate defender. Wow, so long. Diplodocus had one of the longest tails ever. Its whole body could stretch up to 90 feet with a whip-like tail. Its neck was super long, too. This peaceful giant lived in North America during the late Jurassic, near rivers and valleys. It was a plant eater that swept its neck low to grab plants. Fun fact, that tail could snap like a whip faster than the speed of sound. Diplodocus was a gentle giant on the move. Listen to that sound. Parasaurolophus had a long, hollow crest on its head, like a trumpet. It was a duck-billed dinosaur, about 30 feet long. It lived in North America during the late Cretaceous, in swamps and rivers. As a plant eater, it chewed lots of plants and probably lived in big herds. Fun fact, by blowing air through its crest, it could make loud, booming calls like a dinosaur band. Allosaurus was a fierce hunter of the Jurassic, about 30 feet long with strong legs, sharp claws, and big jaws full of knife-like teeth. Allosaurus lived in North America and Europe during the late Jurassic, in open plains. It was a carnivore that ambushed big plant eaters. Fun fact, it had powerful arms with huge claws perfect for grabbing prey. Allosaurus ruled before T-Rex came along. Look how small. Compsognathus was one of the tiniest dinosaurs, about the size of a chicken, with feathers and a long tail for balance. It lived in Europe during the late Jurassic, on islands and coasts. This speedy carnivore chased insects and small lizards. Fun fact, it was so little it could fit in your backpack. But don't worry, it was more like a feisty bird than a monster. Check out that huge sail. Spinosaurus had a giant sail on its back and a long snout like a crocodile. It was up to 50 feet long, even bigger than T-Rex. Spinosaurus lived in Africa during the early Cretaceous, near rivers and deltas. It loved water and ate fish, maybe swimming like a giant croc. Fun fact, it was the biggest meat-eating dinosaur ever, part land, part water hunter. Pachycephalosaurus had a super thick, domed skull like a built-in helmet. It was about 15 feet long and walked on two legs. It lived in North America during the late Cretaceous, in forests. It probably ate plants and maybe some bugs, using its head to butt rivals like goats do today. Fun fact, that skull was 10 inches thick, nature's toughest helmet. Up in the sky! Pteranodon wasn't a dinosaur, but a flying reptile with wings made of skin. Its wingspan was up to 23 feet, like a small airplane. It had a cool crest on its head. Pteranodon lived near oceans worldwide during the late Cretaceous. It caught fish by diving or skimming the water. Fun fact, it could glide for miles without flapping. What a flyer. Whoa! Enormous wings! Quetzalcoatlus had a wingspan of over 30 feet. The biggest flying animal ever. It had a long neck and walked on all fours on the ground. It lived in North America during the late Cretaceous, in inland areas. It hunted small animals from the air. Fun fact, it was as tall as a giraffe when standing. Dimorphodon was a small pterosaur with a big head full of sharp teeth and a puffy tail. Wingspan about 3-4 feet. It lived in Europe during the early Jurassic, near coasts and forests. It caught insects and small prey in the air. Fun fact, it could walk on the ground like a bat, super agile. Look, feathers and wings! Archaeopteryx was small, crow-sized, with feathers, teeth, and claws on its wings. It lived in Europe during the late Jurassic, on islands with trees. It glided from branches to catch bugs or small animals. Fun fact, it's the link between dinosaurs and birds. Your backyard birds are its distant cousins. Rhamphorhynchus had long jaws full of needle teeth and a diamond-shaped tip on its long tail for steering. Wingspan about 3 feet. It lived in Europe during the late Jurassic, around lagoons. It dived into water to catch fish. Fun fact, its tail acted like a rudder, perfect for diving like a seabird. Dive deep. Mosasaurus was a giant sea reptile, up to 50 feet long, with a strong body and powerful jaws, like a super crocodile. It ruled the oceans worldwide during the late Cretaceous, eating fish, sharks, and turtles. Fun fact, it's related to modern snakes and lizards, a swimming giant lizard. Graceful in the water. Plesiosaurus had a very long neck, 4 flippers, and a small head, about 15 feet long. It lived in oceans during the early Jurassic, mostly around Europe. It snapped up fish in shallow seas. Fun fact, its long neck helped it reach prey. Fast as a dolphin. Ichthyosaurus looked just like a fish or dolphin. Streamlined body, big eyes, up to 10 feet long. It swam in oceans worldwide during the Triassic and Jurassic, chasing squid and fish. Fun fact, it gave birth to live babies underwater. No eggs, like a whale of the past. Super stretchy. Allosaurus had the longest neck of any animal ever. Half its 40-foot body was neck, with 72 bones. It lived in North American seas during the late Cretaceous. It ambushed fish from below. Fun fact, that neck let it sneak up on prey like a living fishing rod. Diplodocus was a short-necked sea reptile with huge flippers and super strong jaws, up to 25 feet long. It lived in oceans during the late Jurassic, mostly Europe. It bit through tough shells like turtles. Fun fact, one of the strongest bites in the ancient seas, a real ocean powerhouse. Friends, what an adventure! We met so many incredible creatures from the Mesozoic Era. But 66 million years ago, a huge asteroid hit Earth, causing big changes, volcanoes, dust clouds, and the end for most dinosaurs. But guess what? Birds survived. They're the living dinosaurs today. Every time you see a sparrow or eagle, you're looking at a dino descendant. What was your favorite dinosaur? Until next time, roar on.